The sun lazily rose on the horizon, painting the scattered clouds in the clear sky of the American desert with shades of pink. The white Chevrolet Tahoe of the Miller family cut through the crisp morning air, devouring miles on the hot asphalt of Route 66. A cheerful excitement filled the air on board. The journey to the long-awaited resort had finally begun. At the wheel, Seth Miller, a powerful man with a thick beard and a contagious smile, kept a vigilant eye on the road. Beside him, Rebecca, his wife, a petite woman with copper-colored hair and bright eyes, consulted the map, indicating the route with enthusiasm. In the back seat, their two children, Abby and Jordan, aged 12 and 10 respectively, chatted animatedly, imagining the adventures that awaited them. Hours of travel passed, marked by the monotonous hum of the engine and the desolate panorama of the desert. The sun lazily set on the horizon, painting the sky with fiery hues. Fatigue began to set in, and the need for a stop became urgent. A faded sign pointed to a gas station just ahead. "Finally!" exclaimed Seth with a sigh of relief. The gas station appeared as a solitary oasis in the desert, the only point of light in that vast, arid, and silent expanse. Seth got out of the car while Rebecca parked in a dark corner. A spectral silence enveloped the place, broken only by the metallic buzz of the gas pump. As Seth fiddled with the pump, a dark figure silently emerged from the shadows, a man with a wild look and a knife in hand. Time stretched, and the air became heavy. Seth tried to defend himself, but was overwhelmed by the sudden fury of the assailant. Rebecca's piercing scream shattered the silence as the terrified children hid in the back seat. The struggle was brief, but brutal. Seth defended himself courageously, but the assailant was stronger and more determined. A knife slash reached his arm, causing him to drop the gas pump. The metallic noise drew the attention of a passing motorist who, stopping not far away, helplessly witnessed the scene. Confident that he had killed Seth, the assailant turned toward Rebecca and the children, threatening them with the knife. Rebecca, with her heart pounding, got behind the wheel. The car raced into the dark night, chased by the screams of the assailant. The road was an asphalt ribbon winding through the desert, a tunnel of terror that seemed endless. Meanwhile, the passing motorist had called the police. A patrol was in the area, and thanks to the provided description, they intercepted the Miller family's car. The assailant, realizing he was cornered, attempted to ram the police car but was stopped in time. The Miller family was safe. Seth was injured, but not seriously. Rebecca and the children were in shock, but had suffered no physical harm. The assailant was arrested and taken away. In the following days, the Miller family recovered from the incident. Seth rested in a motel near the site of the attack, while Rebecca and the children dealt with the bureaucratic procedures related to the assailant's arrest. The police questioned them at length, trying to reconstruct the details of what had happened. The traumatic experience had left a deep mark on the family. The children were still terrified and struggled to sleep at night. Rebecca was shaken and worried about the future. Seth, despite being the strongest in the group, was disturbed by the thought of being so close to death. Despite the challenges, the Miller family decided not to give up on their vacation. The resort they had booked was only a few hours away, and their desire for relaxation and fun was still alive. The journey resumed, but the atmosphere had changed. The desert, once seen as an exotic and fascinating place, now appeared as a hostile and dangerous territory. Every curve, every shadow, every sudden noise aroused fear and apprehension. Finally, the resort appeared on the horizon, an oasis of greenery and peace in the midst of the desert. The Miller family finally felt safe. The following days were dedicated to relaxation and fun. The pool, the playground, and the activities organized by the resort allowed the Millers to forget for a while the nightmare they had lived through. However, the fear had not been completely erased. At night, the children still had nightmares, and Rebecca often woke up startled. Seth, although calmer, no longer felt as secure as before. On the last evening of their stay, the Miller family gathered around a bonfire on the beach. The stars shone in the clear desert sky, and the calm sea gently lapped at the shore. They told stories, laughed, and embraced each other. In that moment, they felt united like never before. They had gone through a terrible experience, but they emerged from it stronger and more aware of the value of life. The nightmare at the gas station was a dark chapter in their past, but it would never erase the joy and love that bound them together. The Miller family returned home with a luggage of indelible memories. The desert, the resort, the assailant, the escape, the fear. Everything was imprinted in their minds, but there was also a new sense of hope and strength. They had faced horror and emerged victorious. The rays of the setting sun filtered through the lace curtains, tinting Emily's room with a rosy hue. She was a young university student with a passionate love for video games, especially the Fatal Fantasy series. Her collection of titles was a source of pride, a virtual museum she guarded jealously. That day, like many others, Emily was relaxing in her room, immersed in yet another adventure of Fatal Fantasy. It was a lazy day, marked by the rhythmic tapping of rain against the windows and the scent of warm tea wafting through the air. A sudden metallic sound shattered the quiet. An email notification. A message from an old friend, Richard, with whom she had shared countless hours of online gaming. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw the attachment, a mysterious file with an enigmatic name. Curiosity pricked her mind like a crazed bee. A never-released Fatal Fantasy game, a dark and forgotten chapter. The temptation was irresistible. With a click, she opened the file and initiated a nightmare that would devour her sanity. The screen lit up, revealing a distorted world, an evil echo of the series she loved. Characters, grotesque caricatures of themselves, wandered aimlessly in a limbo of terror. A growing anguish gripped Emily's heart as she advanced through this realm of nightmares, realizing with a shiver of terror that her connection to the game was deeper than she had imagined. Every step in the virtual world was accompanied by unsettling echoes in her reality. Shadows twisted at the edges of her vision, chilling whispers haunted her dreams. The barrier between fiction and reality was thinning, revealing an abyss of madness. Days turned into an endless nightmare. Emily was obsessed with the game, unable to detach herself from that increasingly engulfing, distorted reality. Her apartment became a dark refuge, filled with empty tea mugs and stacks of neglected textbooks. Her social life disintegrated, replaced by a single unhealthy obsession: the cursed game. The further she progressed in the game, the more her mental sanity wavered. Terrifying hallucinations tormented her, visions of monstrous creatures materializing at the edges of her sight. Everyday sounds took on sinister nuances, whispers that only she could hear. One night, as her avatar was guided by a spectral figure toward a dark portal, Emily felt herself sucked into the game. Terror seized her as she found herself in a labyrinth of horrors, pursued by monstrous creatures screaming her condemnation. Time twisted upon itself, stretching into an eternity of agony. She managed to escape from that virtual hell, but the boundary between worlds was now irreversibly compromised. Her actions in the game manifested in reality, distorting her existence into an endless nightmare. Her mental sanity faltered under the weight of this impossible reality, collapsing entirely on a night of terror. Wandering the deserted streets under a starless sky, Emily lost all contact with reality. City lights warped into grotesque shapes, and shadows danced in a macabre procession. She was found by passers-by, a shattered soul on the brink. The psychiatric hospital became her prison, an asylum of cold walls and vacant stares. The echo of the game haunted her, an indelible curse that had mentally consumed her. Emily was now a shadow of the girl she once was, trapped in a limbo between reality and the nightmare she had unleashed. Her story became an urban legend whispered with terror in online forums and gaming chats. Some brave souls attempted to emulate her, hoping to unravel the mysteries of the game and free the tormented souls. But none of them returned. Their stories were lost in time, swallowed by the digital abyss. Richard, the friend who sent the cursed file to Emily, was haunted by guilt. He immersed himself in a deep search, trying to decipher the game's code and find a way to break the curse. After months of tireless work, Richard made a groundbreaking discovery. The game was actually a portal to another dimension, a dark realm inhabited by monstrous creatures and ruled by an evil entity. With the help of a group of skilled hackers, Richard created a virus capable of destroying the game and closing the portal. It was a desperate plan, a last chance to save Emily and the other trapped souls. Richard infiltrated the psychiatric hospital, determined to free his friend from her prison of pain. He found her in a dark room, huddled in a corner, with vacant eyes staring into nothingness. Her once bright and lively eyes were now dull and empty. With a last glimmer of hope, Richard injected the virus into her. Emily's body convulsed violently, as if struck by an electric shock. A piercing scream escaped her lips, while the shadows around her writhed and dissolved. When the virus completed its course, the girl lay motionless on the floor. Richard knelt beside her, trembling with tension. A moment later, her eyelids slowly opened. Emily was alive, but her mind was still fragile. Memories of the game haunted her like recurring nightmares. It took months of therapy and the support of Richard and her friends to help her rebuild her life. The experience had marked her deeply, but Emily didn't give up. With time, she learned to coexist with the traumas and turn the pain into strength. The young girl decided to use her experience to help others. She became a psychologist specializing in psychological traumas caused by video games and digital technologies. She lectured worldwide, raising public awareness about the dangers of video game abuse and the need for responsible technology use. Emily's story became a warning for all video game enthusiasts, a whisper of terror spreading through online communities. The line between fiction and reality had been drawn with Emily's blood, a fragile boundary that no one dared to challenge anymore. In the abandoned shopping mall, a man wandered among the empty stores, searching for something. His name was Dwayne, a freelance journalist specializing in paranormal phenomena. He had come to that small town on the west coast of the United States to investigate a series of mysterious disappearances that had plagued the area in recent months. Dwayne had discovered that all the victims were last seen at the mall, which had been closed for years due to a fire. According to some rumors, the place was haunted by an evil spirit that abducted people and took them to its dark realm. Dwayne didn't believe in these legends, but he was intrigued by the case and wanted to uncover the truth. He had decided to enter the mall at night, armed with a flashlight and a camera, hoping to find some clues or testimonials. As he walked through the corridors, Dwayne heard strange noises, steps, sighs, whispers. Dwayne stopped and pointed the flashlight toward the source of the sounds. He saw no one but felt the eerie sensation of being watched. Dwayne attempted to call out, but no one responded. He resumed walking, yet the noises persisted, and a growing sense of unease enveloped him. He began to realize that entering that place might have been a mistake. Perhaps there was something truly supernatural waiting for him. Dwayne tried to retrace his steps but got lost. He couldn't navigate among the stores anymore. It was as if the mall had transformed into an inescapable labyrinth. Panic set in. He ran aimlessly, hoping to find an exit. Instead, he found himself in front of a large metal door with a red warning sign. "Do not enter." Dwayne wondered what lay behind that door. Maybe it held the solution to the mystery, or perhaps it was the spirit's trap. He hesitated, torn between fear and curiosity. Eventually, driven by the instincts of a journalist, he decided to open the door and step inside. It was his last mistake. When Dwayne opened the door, he witnessed a horrific scene. Human bodies hung from the ceiling like trophies. Machines tortured, dissected, and drained them of blood. The smell of blood and death filled the air. And there it was, The spirit, a monstrous creature with a goat's head, a man's torso, and lion's legs. It had red eyes, black horns, a mouth full of sharp teeth, and a forked tongue. Long, sharp claws adorned its fingers. It was the master of them all, the perpetrator of the disappearances, the journalist's adversary that night. The spirit saw Dwayne and smiled. It was pleased to have a new guest, tired of playing with its old toys. It wanted to have fun with him. The spirit approached Dwayne, seized him by the neck, lifted him from the ground, and carried him toward one of the machines. The spirit said to Dwayne, "Welcome to my realm, stranger. I'm delighted you came. I have so much to show you. I'll reveal the true meaning of horror to you. I'll make you feel true pain. I'll make you beg for death. But I won't grant it. I'll keep you with me forever. You'll be my new favorite toy." The journalist screamed, but no one heard. No one helped. No one saved him. Dwayne died, but it wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The snow fell incessantly, enveloping Katie and Michael's cabin in a ghostly silence. The couple, unaware of the looming threat, enjoyed the evening by the fireplace, sipping hot chocolate. A sudden creak against the window startled them. A shadow darted in the storm. Michael, with his heart pounding, approached to peer into the night. A tall, slender figure lurked furtively in the darkness. Terror gripped Katie and Michael. The storm hindered them as the pursuer approached relentlessly. An abandoned shed became their only hope. They hid inside, silently praying. Time stretched, each minute an eternity. The sound of a siren shattered the silence. The police had finally arrived. The man had disappeared into thin air. The police found no traces, only a boot print in the snow. Katie and Michael, haunted by nightmares and memories, found no peace. Who was that man? What did he want from them? Fear consumed them. A man showed up at the hospital where Katie worked. It was Thomas, devastated by the pain of his missing daughter. He had seen Katie's photo and, blinded by despair, had mistaken her for his daughter in the storm. Katie and Michael listened to Thomas's story with a mix of pity and suspicion. Was he truly just a desperate father, or was there something more sinister? They encountered Thomas several times, trying to understand his true intentions. One day, during a meeting with Thomas, Michael noticed a strange object in his bag. A knife. Tension escalated. The air became suffocating. Michael accused Thomas of being the man from the storm, but he vehemently denied it. Katie and Michael decided to investigate on their own. They followed Thomas and discovered he was associating with a shady character. They trailed him to an abandoned warehouse where a deadly trap awaited them. After an exhausting struggle, Michael exposed Thomas's accomplice. He was a human trafficker who had kidnapped Thomas's daughter. The man had been hired to scare Katie and Michael away from the investigation. In the excitement of the discovery, Michael noticed a detail that had escaped everyone, a small diary in Thomas's pocket. He opened it with trembling curiosity, devouring the pages filled with unspeakable secrets. Thomas was not just a desperate father, but a man with a dark past and a deceptive present. Reading the diary, Michael came across a series of disturbing entries. Thomas spoke of shady dealings, debts with dangerous people, and a desperate plan to settle his score. Fear crept back into Michael's heart. Was Thomas truly the man who had pursued Katie in the storm? Michael was torn. Should he confess Thomas's secrets to Katie, or would he risk feeding her paranoia? The trust between the two was hanging by a thread, threatened by a shadow of uncertainty. Determined to uncover the truth, Michael began investigating Thomas, following the traces left in the diary. He found himself in a world of secrets and lies, where every step was a danger and every encounter an enigma. His investigations led him to a seedy bar frequented by criminals and traffickers. Michael, with his heart in his throat, infiltrated the establishment, trying not to attract attention. The air was thick with smoke and tension. Danger lurked in every corner. Michael spotted Thomas in a corner of the bar, accompanied by shady individuals. He approached cautiously, ready to expose him. But just as he was about to confront the man, a hand gripped his shoulder forcefully. It was Katie who had followed him, concerned. In front of Katie, Michael confessed his suspicions about Thomas and showed her the diary. The girl, shocked by the revelations, didn't know what to believe. In a rising tension, Thomas noticed their presence and confronted them with anger. In the heat of the struggle, Thomas lost control and confessed his terrible guilt. It was he who had pursued Katie in the storm, driven by desperation and paranoia. He had lied about everything, even his identity. Katie and Michael, shaken by the discovery, distanced themselves from Thomas with a sense of disgust and bitterness. Their trust had been betrayed, their security compromised. The snowy night was just the beginning of a nightmare of secrets and deceit that would haunt them forever. Despite the pain and disappointment, Katie and Michael didn't give up. They held on to each other, finding in their union the strength to move forward. They decided to turn the page, leaving the past behind and looking to the future with renewed hope. Time passed, but the wound from the snowy night never fully healed. Katie and Michael continued to live with the fear of being pursued again. The shadow of suspicion accompanied them like a ghost, tainting every moment of joy. The sun lazily set on the horizon, painting the sky with shades of red and orange. The warm desert wind blew through the arid rocks, carrying with it an eerie silence. Philip, a 35-year-old man with a salt and pepper goatee and a weary gaze, drove his car on a deserted road in Nevada. He was heading to Las Vegas for a computer engineering conference, an event that didn't particularly excite him. The sudden drop in fuel forced him to divert towards a roadside diner that loomed on the horizon like a mirage, the Desolate Desert, a name that didn't bode well. The flickering and ghostly neon sign illuminated a dilapidated structure with deep cracks and shattered glass. A sense of unease gripped Philip as he parked his car. A burly man with a pockmarked face and a sinister look materialized from the darkness. His name was Carl, and in a hoarse voice he asked Philip what he wanted. "Just a fill-up of gas," Philip replied, trying to remain calm. Carl stared at him with a sly smile, then headed towards another room, leaving Philip with a growing sense of oppression. As Philip waited, a metallic hum emanated from a room at the back. A strange sensation prompted him to approach. Pushing the creaking door, he faced a chilling scene. A woman with disheveled hair and eyes wide with terror was tied to a chair, with a gag preventing her from screaming. It was Sophia, an archaeology student traveling to the Grand Canyon. A second man, with a thick beard and a knife in hand, materialized behind him. He was Joel, Carl's accomplice. "You shouldn't have poked your nose where it didn't belong," growled Joel, pointing the knife at Philip's throat. A moment of clarity allowed Philip to react. With a well-placed kick, he disarmed Joel and sent him sprawling. A burst of gunshots rang out, narrowly missing Philip and hitting the woman in the shoulder. The searing pain made her scream as Philip dashed towards the exit, with Joel and Carl hot on his heels. In the pitch-black darkness, Philip ran like a madman, seeking shelter. Bullets whizzed past his ears as terror pumped through his veins. A glimmer of hope appeared on the horizon, the lights of a police car. With his last ounce of strength, Philip headed towards salvation. The police car screeched to a stop, blocking Joel and Carl's escape. The two criminals, caught off guard and disarmed, surrendered without resistance. Philip, exhausted but alive, slumped to the ground as the officers tended to him and took care of Sophia. While the police escorted the two criminals away, Philip noticed something strange. A sinister glow emanated from the back room of the diner. Driven by an irresistible force, he approached and opened the door. Inside, the scene was horrifying. A series of macabre symbols were painted on the walls with blood, and at the center of the room, a crude stone altar with a human skull atop it. A shiver of terror ran down Philip's spine. He realized he had brushed against an ancient and unspeakable horror, a mystery that loomed over the desolate desert diner and might never be fully unveiled. In the weeks that followed, Philip and Sophia couldn't shake off the horror they had witnessed. The gruesome images of the stone altar and the human skull haunted their dreams, leaving them with a constant sense of unease. Philip, in particular, became obsessed with the mystery surrounding the diner. He began researching, consulting ancient books and folklore websites, trying to decipher the symbols painted on the walls. The deeper he delved into his investigation, the more convinced he became that the diner was a place of dark power, a convergence point between our world and a dimension of unspeakable terror. Against Sophia's advice, Philip decided to return to the diner to unravel the mystery. He drove for hours through the desert, under a scorching sun that burned his skin and sanity. When he arrived at the diner, it was deserted and silent, as if swallowed by nothingness. Driven by an eerie attraction to the unknown, Philip headed towards the back room. The door was wide open, as if inviting him in. Inside, the stone altar was still there, but the human skull was gone. In its place stood a hooded figure, motionless and silent. In a faint voice, Philip asked the figure who they were and what they wanted. The hooded figure turned slowly, revealing a horrific face twisted with pain and anger. It was the leader of a satanic cult that had been operating in secret in the desert for years, using the diner as a place of worship and ritual sacrifices. Philip realized he was trapped. The hooded figure attacked with inhuman ferocity. Philip defended himself as best he could, using anything he could find. The fight was uneven, and Philip was about to succumb when Sophia burst into the room, screaming. The hooded figure turned towards Sophia, giving Philip the chance to get back on his feet. Together, they fled the diner and headed towards Philip's car. The two Satanists pursued them, shooting and screaming. Philip and Sophia managed to shake off their pursuers and reach the main road. They drove for hours without looking back until they felt safe. The nightmare at the diner was finally over, but the trauma of that experience would mark them forever. Philip and Sophia knew that the satanic cult was still out there, lurking, and that their encounter was only the beginning of an endless nightmare. In the quiet town near Santa Barbara, summer enveloped the city in a stifling heat. It was a time when most residents took a break, leaving the streets semi-deserted. Joshua and Taylor, two 25-year-old young lovers, experienced the surreal atmosphere of an empty shopping mall as they prepared for their upcoming wedding. The interior of the shopping mall, usually vibrant and bustling, now presented itself as an empty labyrinth, with subdued lights accentuating shadows along the corridors. The two young individuals, wrapped in an unusual calm, moved through closed stores and empty shop windows, seeking the final details for their special day. As they explored different sections, a familiar figure observed from the shadows. Dressed simply in jeans and a hoodie, the man, a former boyfriend of Taylor from high school, had maintained a dangerous obsession with her over the years. His presence, not yet apparent, lingered in the air, creating a subtle tension in the summer atmosphere. Unaware of the shadows slowly closing in on their world, the couple continued their preparations. After exploring various departments, Joshua and Taylor found themselves in the section dedicated to bridal attire. As they examined white dresses and sparkling accessories, the temperature seemed to suddenly drop, sending a shiver down Taylor's spine. The shopping mall, deserted due to the summer holidays, transformed into a silent stage. The couple moved among glittering decorations and subdued lights, unaware that the shadow, with stealthy steps, was following closely behind. With the passage of time, summer heat combined with tension in the air. As the sun approached the horizon, the lights of the shopping mall automatically turned on, casting an eerie glow on every corner. The shadow, becoming more defined, brushed against the perimeter of Joshua and Taylor's awareness. The tension heightened as the couple reached the main hall for the reception, beautifully decorated. A sense of unease permeated the atmosphere, and the shadow, now fully revealed, materialized behind a column. A pale face and intense eyes stared at Joshua and Taylor with a sinister interest. The killer, Taylor's obsessed ex-boyfriend, revealed his presence when the tension reached its peak. With a twisted grin, he pulled a knife from his hoodie, shattering the enchantment of the occasion. The light of the shopping mall, now transformed into a sinister stage, bore witness to the tragedy about to unfold. The shopping mall, abandoned by the voices of the summer crowd, became the stage for a silent horror. No rain would wash away the traces of that fateful day, and the semi-deserted town of Pacific Shores retained the memory of a story that would haunt the minds of its inhabitants, even as the summer holidays came to an end.